just got off Cunard's brand new ship, Queen Anne.
We visited every single eatery on board.
We're going to show you which restaurants are included in your cruise fare.
And also the 5 speciality restaurants which are all on board.
And we're going to tell you why some of these restaurants, even if you've booked before, you've got to pay more once you're on board. But first of all, let's start with all of the restaurants that are included. And
Britannia restaurant, here we come.
the Britannia restaurant then. This is where the majority of the passengers will be dining. The times are for breakfast 8 till 9:30, deck 2 only. Again, deck 2 only, 12 till 1:30 for lunch. First sitting on deck 2 is 5:30 and second sitting is 8:30 with deck 3 open seating. First of all, breakfast. Rachel, what did you think of breakfast? What was on offer?
Breakfast, there was a fair variety on offer. As with normal cruise ship breakfast, there was the Cunard signature breakfast. Plenty of fresh bakery items, fresh fruits, porridge, cereal, toast, you name it, you could probably have it. Fresh omelettes, made to order. Eggs Benedict, this was okay. I'd actually say I preferred P&O's.
That is very unusual. Don't forget, as we show the menus, if you'd like to see them more closely, then just use that pause button. This was what's on offer at lunchtime. And actually, a bigger variety actually at lunchtime than you do normally get on cruise ships. And we move on to the dinner. This was the first ever sea day, the first formal night on Queen Anne. And the menu, once again, there was vegan options, there was vegetarian options. I went with the soup to start with and the trio beef, which was absolutely delicious. This was a really good meal. Rachel's going to quickly inform you of what happened with the cheese.
So have you had a rich tea biscuit with cheese? No, me either. The only biscuits on offer were rich tea.
This was our second night in the MDR. Just a quick note, if you are on open seating, you can just queue up, which didn't take too long. There's also the virtual queue, but we did actually find the virtual queue not to be that great, to be honest. It was quicker to line up, but let us know if you've been on. How have you found the queues for deck 3? This onion, what do they call it? French onion soup, that's the word I was looking for. Wasn't the greatest, it was okay. Rachel, what did you think of the meal? That gnocchi was very nice.
Yep, I had some pork, which was very good. I must say, I still wasn't impressed with this cheese plate. Go into the buffet if you want a better selection of cheeses and biscuits on offer.
If you're Club Britannia balcony, this is where you will be dining. Deck 2 midship, and then if you're Queen or Princess Grill, this is where you'll be dining for your breakfast, lunch and dinner. This is the buffet on board, the Artisan Food Hall. Up on midship deck 9, it's got several stations, and as you can see on the screen there is the timings, open from 6 a.m. for breakfast all the way to late night snacks until midnight. You've got hot offerings. I really like these hot offerings. You could get, your bacon, your sausage, your egg. There was also made up rolls and things like pancakes, waffles. It was quite impressive, wasn't it, the buffet in the morning?
Yeah, the buffet in the morning was impressive. However, at one point I did have some eggs with some avocado, which had been left for a little bit too long as we were a bit later. So grab the fresh ones as they are making them would be my tip here.
2 screens in the food hall to tell you exactly what is on offer at each station. We move on to lunchtime. Once again, a good variety. We found you've got your fast food type food, pizzas, you've got your curries, you've got your rice, you've got lots of healthy options as well. Rachel took some of the healthy options. What did you think?
I absolutely loved the salad bar on board. So you basically just tell them everything that you want in your bowl, and that is that. But there was always a large variety of different salads on offer, which I thought was really good. And that gyros was really good.
The pudding selection, that was so good. For research purposes, I had to try every single one. There's always a hot pudding, crumble, etc. There's always a roast, there's always fish and chips, but of a really, really good standard, I felt. And with them serving it to you, it reduced the queues. On to the evening. This was the first evening. A curry. I love this, as Rachel was talking about just before. You cut the cheese selection here. They'll cut the cheese for you, which I think is excellent for a buffet and food hall. How did we enjoy the evening buffet? More on offer?
Yeah, there was plenty on offer, loads for everyone with any type of taste bud you may have. So yeah, really high standard, really enjoyed the evening buffet.
Ice cream available in the afternoon. There's afternoon tea, which is great, and also juice available throughout the day, and teas and coffee. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to give this a like. It's really important, that like button, so more get to see it. And that subscribe button, it's completely free. Let's move on. Rachel will talk about this very shortly because she really enjoyed this. It's the Wellness Cafe, the Pavilion Grill, and the Pavilion Galetta? I think I got that right. Rachel, while I struggle with a name of an ice cream place, tell us about the Wellness Cafe.
So yeah, the Wellness Cafe, as you can see, you do already have made up options that you can pick. However, I went for build your own bowl. You can choose one option from the top, two from the second, and then one from each other. As you can see, very fresh, really tasty. You take a buzzer and then they call you when your order is ready.
I went for the less healthy option of the grill. The grill opened 12 to 4. This really improved as the cruise went along. By the time we had it, they got it really down to a really efficient service. It only took 5 minutes. You make your order, a selection of burgers. You obviously could tell them if you wanted it to be plain, if you wanted to add things. A couple of hot dogs, there was chips, there was Cajun chips, there was onion rings on the side, whatever you like. Once again, research purposes, I had the burger, and this was a tasty burger, this one. And also had the hot dog as well. It was like the fully loaded with a side of onion rings. For a poolside grill, this was really, really good. And also you can collect your ice creams as well. I won't attempt to say what it's called, but it's basically an ice cream shop. Get your ice cream. We move on to the Cynthia Lounge now. This is open for breakfast. It's also open for brunch / lunch, and also for afternoon tea alternative. We'll take a look at that shortly. Drinks are extra in here, but the food is included. And for breakfast, it was really good. Some lovely pastries and also some hot things that you could order. What do we think, first of all, breakfast?
Yeah, I thought this was a really nice concept. You could just be out of all of the hustle and bustle. As Tom said, plenty of pastries on offer. And then the two hot options were the smoked trout Benedict and the sausage. It was almost like a Benedict also. But yeah, really tasty and light.
There was a selection for lunch as well, and then we moved on to the afternoon tea. Now, this is not, we're going to go on to the other afternoon teas shortly, but this is an alternative. So they've just got a selection of cakes available and sandwiches. We found they were okay. They a bit dry, a bit stodgy. You'll see Rachel's face in a minute. She wasn't that impressed.
I'll just clarify, there weren't any sandwiches available within this afternoon tea, which was my disappointment, as actually I prefer the sandwiches. I really was not fazed by that cake at all. However, the afternoon tea in the Queen's Room was spectacular. They came out to a round of applause, as they do on Cunard ships. We did see the string trio, not quartet, on one occasion, and then the second occasion we had the saxophonist playing. So continuously, I think we must have drunk about 10 cups of tea. They then come around with the sandwiches, followed by cakes and then scones.
Just to clarify, the afternoon tea in Queen's Room is included, but you'll need to get there by about 2:30 as it does get really, really busy. But it is included, and there's the same food options up in the food hall. But obviously, it's you've got to serve yourself, head up. Now, on to a bit of a controversial point, the red line. The red line for food is open at lunchtime between 12 and 3. It used to be all included. You still get your ploughman's included. You can still get a fish and chip lunch and other items. But they've now added some items which are extra pay. So we had this on our first day when we arrived on board. And as you can see, there's some desserts there available. Now, see this ploughman, that is included. And Rachel really enjoyed this ploughman's. And I had this, research purposes, again, I had this toasty, which was just okay, but that cost me £7.25 with some fancy thing on top. I look like I'm really enjoying it, and I did quite enjoy it, but I hadn't actually eaten anything else on this cruise. So it was definitely beaten, actually, by a toasty, which was available in the food hall. So still some available for free of charge. or included in your cruise, but you do have to pay for some items. I wouldn't say they're worth it. We're on to the room service. This is the room service that you put out the night before.
Yeah, so the first time we did this, it didn't actually arrive. However, we realised we didn't put our room number on, so how would they know where to take it? So second time we were a lot more successful in our order. This was the day we were getting off the ship, so we just went for a light breakfast. It was there when we woke up, the time that we wanted it, and yeah, it was fine. There's also room service on offer for 24 hours of the day, which is pretty impressive.
So the room service is included. As mentioned, Rachel mentioned, you've got times that you can do it for the morning, and that has to be put out the night before 1 a.m. it needs to be on the door. And then this menu is in your cabin, and this will have all the food that you can have. Most of it is included, the delivery is included, but there is certain items. Caviar, unfortunately, is not included, but it clearly states which of the items you do have to pay extra for. Apologies for filming of this. This was filmed at, I think, around 1 a.m. in the morning when we decided to have this pizza. And yeah, it was nice. It was nice and tasty, and Rachel enjoyed that club sandwich. But as I said, that was all included. Delivery, once again, got better as the cruise went along. It was a bit dodgy to start with, but fair play to them. They sorted it out, and times were good. Took around about half an hour from making the phone call. Before you get on board, you head on to the webpage, stick your booking number in, and it'll give you all the details of all the restaurants, and then you can also book the speciality restaurants. And I think that's a good time for us to take a look at the speciality restaurants, 5 of them. We start with Sir Samuel's. Now buckle yourself in, because we're going to explain what you pay. So this was the lunchtime. So lunchtime costs us $31.50 each, just over $60 for the evening. And the difference is everything that hasn't got a price on is included. So you can have a starter, an entree, you can have a pudding. If it's got a price obviously next to it, it's extra. So on top of your $31.50 you already paid. The difference between lunch and dinner, I'll show you here, is actually quite small. There are some items that are not included, and you've got to pay extra for at lunch, that are included in the evening. But it's not a great deal. Like, for example, the Wagyu beef is not, you got to pay extra for it at lunchtime. We paid extra. If you're paying for dinner, just over $60, then it is included. There's other items, as you can see, they've got the 2 menus here, that there's more items available in the evening, but it's not a great deal extra, is it?
No, it wasn't, and actually we paid £17 extra to both have an upcharge starter, and that was still a saving on what we would have paid on the dinner time menu. So I think actually going for lunch was the best option here for us. The Caesar salad looked like quite a spectacular thing to order as well. They make it all at the side of the table, which I was very impressed by. So we had some, I think he described it as a sticky brioche bun with some smoky butter. That was fairly nice. As Tom said, he had the Wagyu beef. He had no idea what Wagyu beef was, so when it was placed in front of him, his face was quite the picture. And I went for the lump crab cake, which was absolutely delicious. Possibly one of the best starters I had on board, actually. And then on to mains, I went for a steak and Tom went for the short rib. I went for the ribeye. I do like my steak quite rare, and I did ask for it to be rare. However, it was a little bit fatty, but it was still good. And you get 2 sides alongside your entree order. And there's plenty on offer, as you would have seen from the menus. The chips were really good, the broccoli was good, and that spinach was beautiful.
And all with spectacular views, as you can see. There's some lovely views, even if you're not right by the window. On a sea day, it was stunning. As Rachel mentioned a minute ago, there we go. So if you got the salad, you get a demonstration, and you can choose what you want in it. Now take a look at this, listen to this. This is the rum pudding that Rachel had. They give you a choice of 3, and as you can hear, Rachel, that was her favourite. Now, tell us about how much rum was on that.
35% by volume only. Which one?
This is my favourite. Oh my god, there was a lot of rum on that rum barber, or whatever it's called. But it was really, really tasty. I've never had one before. I am a big fan of Captain Morgan's spiced rum. despite what my face is saying at this point in time. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Next up, we're going to move on to the Ajiwa, which is in two parts. We have, first of all, we're going to show you the sushi part, but it's all part of the same restaurant. Now, I must say that we had some of the best service in these two restaurants. The waiters and waitresses were fabulous in here, but we started a bit of a rough start, really. Actually, the worst impression, the manager seemed very stressed, just told us to go and sit down and didn't explain it. So we will explain it, but I must say after that, terrible start, the service got much, much better on both visits. You sit down in front of the chefs, you take a look at the menu, and then you tell the chefs what you would like, they make it for you, and they hand it over. The food is delicious. Rachel will just quickly describe the food shortly. Just to let you know, this is $20 each, and then that money is taken off your bill. So, for example, we had enough food, it was just $20 each, we didn't have any more. If you want to have more dishes, then you just obviously pay for the extra dishes that you have, but you're just choosing off the menu and each item's calculated. If it's over 20 each, then obviously you pay the extra. Japanese beer was delicious, and the only problem is, I would say at the moment, is they take a long time to work out the bill because they need to split it into two sections. So be patient at the moment. They seem to get confused, and there was me attempting to use those chopsticks unsuccessfully.
So yeah, as Tom said, there was plenty on offer. So there was dragon rolls, maki, there was sashimi, anything you can think that you might want from a sushi bar, it was available. We then moved on to the Japanese restaurants. So this is basically, you're just not sat at the sushi bar. You can have the sushi also if you are sitting in the main restaurant and that is brought over to you. We were a little bit confused by this menu. However, our waiter and waitress were fantastic and explained everything. There was a set menu you could choose, which came in at $62.
So once again, this is exactly the same as the sushi. We paid $20 each, and any dishes, as soon as you hit the $20, you're obviously just paying for the extra that you spend here. So once again, if you have enough dishes that is 20 each, then that's all you pay. If you get more dishes like we did, we paid around $10 extra each on top. One thing I would say at this point, when we were in the sushi, they did think we only paid $20 when we paid $20 each. They believed us, and that was absolutely fine, but make sure you do have proof. Tell us about that broccoli and the other dishes. They were amazing, weren't they?
So I have to say, yeah, this Japanese restaurant, the food was spectacular. So that broccoli is tempura broccoli, get my words out, tempura broccoli with a satay sauce and parmesan shavings. It was absolutely divine. And those bao buns, absolutely delicious. I couldn't fault any of the food. Actually, the soba noodles were a bit tasteless and I would not order them again.
But we highly recommend that Japanese, both the sushi and the Japanese restaurant. We move on to the Mediterranean restaurant, Tramonto. This is at the end of the buffet, separate restaurant. You can use this area actually for breakfast and lunch. It's a spillover area for the food hall. This is a Mediterranean menu, and once again, this goes back to there's certain items that you have to pay extra for. The rest of it hasn't got a price next to it. It is included. We paid $18 each for this. So this is actually a bit of a bargain. You start with your bread and then you move on to your main and your desserts. Rachel, what did we think of this Mediterranean experience?
So again, I really enjoyed this restaurant. So we had the fried fish to start. Tom had the chicken schnitzel. And I went with the hake, which was really delicious. And then you get these 3 side dishes are all put on your table as included. So they were polenta fries, there was a courgette warm salad, and then tomato salad, which were all delicious. And this pudding, I think, was my favourite pudding. It was a chocolate ganache, and Tom went with the panna cotta. Again, spectacular service, really, really tasty food. Then we head into Aranya. So this is the Indian restaurant on board, and the cost for this was £31.50 per person. Dollars, sorry, not pounds. So again, Same concept as all of the others. You pick your starter, your entree, and then your desserts. I personally didn't feel that there was too much on offer on this menu. So the starter that I wanted was the crab. This was not available, so I went with the pork belly, which was ridiculously spicy and not very tasty. And that was all the poppadoms we got given as well. We did ask for more, and they did arrive.
But the accompaniment to that, the 3-layered dip, we were having a whale of a time here. We'd enjoyed ourselves that afternoon, let's just say. By the time we got to this Indian, we had a good day here. But yes, this 3-layered dip was actually the highlight of this food. We just found it was a little bit tasteless. It wasn't very Indian. There's not hardly anything that P&O does better food-wise in Cunard. But I would say Sindhu is better than this restaurant. Hopefully it improves as time goes along. But yes, it was a little disappointing and the service was a little bit slow. But hopefully they will change the menu around and improve it as things go along. Just a reminder for these speciality restaurants, you got to book beforehand. You can book on board, but really there was no spaces. We kept on hearing people go to the restaurant and they said it's sold out for the whole cruise. And then once you arrive, the menus are quite self-explanatory, and if there's any extra to pay, it will be on the menu. Thanks for joining us. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and press on the screen right now if you'd like a full ship tour of Queen Anne.